All right, let's do 7.2a. Let's start off with a quick review. Number one, what is a four-sided polygon called? A four-sided polygon is a quadrilateral. Number two, what marks do you use to show lines are parallel? Well, those are just kind of look like these. They're little arrows, and they just are next to each other and they point the same way. Number three, the slopes of parallel lines are the same. If they are parallel, they have to have the same slope. Number four, what does supplementary mean? That means they add up to 180. That means they are two angles. They have to add up to 180 degrees. Okay. Next one, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral whose opposite sides are all parallel, given the word. That means either side will be parallel. So if I draw this means this is parallel to this, and these, I'm going to make two up marks, are parallel to those. That means, so if I call this A, B, C, D, AB is parallel to DC. AD is parallel to BC. Okay. Next, the 5 properties of parallelograms. Opposite sides are parallel. For just example, as we've already said, right? If we had X, Y, W, X, Y, Z, and let's do this is this, and this is this, and this is this. XY is parallel to WZ, and XW is parallel to YZ. Opposite sides are also in a parallelogram are congruent. That means not only are they parallel, they have the same slope, but they also have the same length. So here, if I draw another parallelogram, call this A, B, C, D, opposite sides are congruent to each other. So A, B is congruent to CD. AC is congruent to BD. Number 3, opposite angles are also congruent. So if I draw a parallelogram and I were to label the angles A, B, C, and D, right? Or I'm labeling the angles. Let me try this again. A, B, C, and D. Angle A is congruent to angle D because they're opposite. Angle C is congruent to angle B. Consecutive angles are supplementary. Going back to my parallelogram, that means A, B, C, D if I add A and B, right? If I add angle A, like the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B, it should equal 180 degrees. The measure of angle C plus the measure of angle D, also 180 degrees. Same thing with the other ones. The measure of angle A and C should equal 180. And then also with B and D. B and D should also equal 180 degrees. Finally, the diagonals bisect each other. So if I draw a parallelogram like so, A, B, C, and D, and I drew the diagonals, meaning one line from the opposite corners to the other, they bisect. That means this side has to be the same as this, and this side has to be the same as that. If I label my center M, that means AM must be congruent to MD, and CM must also be congruent to MB. One half is equal to the other half. All right, let's try this out. Number 1, we know A is 51. Find the measure of C. Well, A and C, since they are opposite, they have to be equal. So this is 51 degrees because they are opposites. Opposite angles are equal. Number 2, measure angle B. So this is 51. I'm going to write 51 now. A and B also have to be supplementary. That means I take 180 minus 51 to find B. So this is 180 minus 51. That gives me 129 degrees. B is 129 degrees because they are supplementary. So consecutive are supplementary. Measure angle D, that is 129 because opposites. Because if B is 129, D have to be 129 because they are opposites. Let's look at going down. Number 2, A, find M. Okay, M in this case is this length. And since the other portion, remember, these two lengths have to be congruent. So then M has to equal 8 because the diagonals bisect. They bisect each other, so one has to equal the other. Now K, so I know that K plus 4 must equal 11. So I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides. K should then equal 7 because of the same reason, the diagonals bisect. Let's look at number 3, find GF. Well, GF, that's 8 because here the consecutive sides, the opposite sides are congruent. Those are opposites. Opposite sides congruent. Find the measure of angle H. H, if E is 60, to find H, since they are supplementary, I do 180 minus 60 gives me 120 because they have consecutive side. Are supplementary. C, find the measure of F. Well, this one I already found to be 120. F is 120 because opposite sides are congruent. Find the measure of angle G. Well, that has to be 60 because opposite sides. Once we find two sides, everything kind of falls into place. Let's go on number 4. Number 4, find X. Okay, so here, these opposite sides, I know opposite sides are congruent. So I'm going to set them equal. 2x must equal 50. Divide both sides by 2. X then must equal 25. Find y for b. B, same thing. These are opposite sides are congruent. Well, A is actually not really opposite sides. These are opposites, but opposite angles. Either way, all opposites in a parallelogram are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent, so I'm going to say y plus 3 must equal 18. Subtract 3 to both sides. Y must equal 15. And that is that.